Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Jules with Simple Body, and today I am so excited to have my friend and colleague Mary Catherine here, and her business is Defy Nutrition. And Mary Catherine is going to talk to us today about how what you eat is directly connected to your skin health and how you have to keep a healthy gut to have happy skin. So we all know that putting great skincare on your skin helps, but products can only take us so far. Your lifestyle choices are directly affecting your skin. And today, we're going to learn from Mary Catherine how to keep a clean, healthy diet so that we can keep our skin clean and clear. Welcome, Mary Catherine.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got into nutrition, and a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So I have been in business now for 5 years, just about 5 years. I've been a dietitian for quite some time. I knew starting in middle school, I wanted to go into healthcare.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was a competitive athlete. I struggled with weight. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And really for me, what hit home was a misdiagnosis in my family. And so after that, really judging a book by its cover and not looking beyond, looking at the person, looking at that health from the inside out, if we're talking about skin, right?
Right.
That's what really motivated me to go into nutrition and dietetics.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a similar story. It was a family healthcare scare that also propelled me into the skincare world.
Yes.
So it's funny how, sometimes these life events set us on a course for our careers.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
So how does our diet directly impact our skin health? And do you believe that diet can help with skin conditions like acne or dry skin?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's like $1 million question, right? There's so much we could cover on this topic as far as how nutrition impacts your skin. But it absolutely does. Everything from, are you hydrating your body?
Right.
Are you, eating wholesome foods and avoiding a lot of those processed foods and refined sugars and inflammatory foods?
Right. Give us some examples of inflammatory foods.
Yeah. So your inflammatory foods can be everything from your typical fried foods, baked goods, to even things like your palm oil that will sneak into things like peanut butter.
Oh, you're so right about that. So what are like a few key things, like if I want to eat an anti-inflammatory diet, what are like 3 or 4 things that you would say stay away from?
Stay away from. So fried foods ideally would be great.
Definitely, yes.
And we can't skip over that. So fried food, fast food, those quick convenience type foods.
Right. Okay.
Of course, things that come in a box that have a lot of ingredients you can't pronounce.
Right.
One of the things I love about Simple Body is you have in your labels, if you can't eat it, don't put it on your skin.
That's right.
So if you can't pronounce it, maybe you want to reconsider eating it too.
That's so smart. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of those processed foods, certain individuals have specific triggers. So for some people, dairy and gluten might bother them.
I wondered about that.
Yeah.
I tend to lean toward sensitivity to gluten and dairy. I mean, I notice it in my skin if I eat gluten or dairy.
Yeah, and a lot of people aren't, and some people are. So that's where really knowing your body comes into play there, as far as, what are you putting into your body and how are you seeing that difference? And then also anything that's high in sugar.
Oh, right.
So that's a big inflammatory one as well. And when we talk about sugar, we talk about added sugars. So we're not talking about pieces of fruit, but if we think about an apple going to applesauce, right, we're typically taking the apple, processing it down, and then adding some sugar in to make that taste better.
Oh, right.
So we're talking about those added sugars that sneak into a lot of our foods.
Gotcha. So whole foods versus boxed foods.
Yes.
Wherever
Ideally,
possible.
Yes.
Yeah. It's getting harder because life gets busier. Women are working in careers today. You've got kids, you're juggling them, trying to get them to sports and activities. And it gets harder and harder. I find to eat those whole foods, but a little bit of food prep, I feel like can help with
meal
that.
prep, meal planning. I mean, I will say, I think there are new companies going in a direction of trying to give you convenience without so much of the processing.
That's good.
So I do think that's possible. Even if you think about, like we used to have those like fruit leathers, right? Now,
Oh yeah, right. Fruit roll-ups.
yes, there we go.
Right.
The word there. But now
Yeah.
they have ones that are completely just dried fruit. There's
Wow.
no added sugar. There's no preservatives. So I do think we
That's
are
great.
getting to a point where we can be efficient in the kitchen and still
That's
choose
true.
better. It's really just understanding how to decipher those labels.
That's true. And I feel like there are some more smaller local groceries like Mountain Mama
Yes.
that are focusing on those healthier convenience foods. So maybe consider looking at more of those smaller natural
Yes.
chains for those convenience foods.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there specific foods that you think contribute to breakouts? I get this question a ton because, I think as our food chain has sort of become a little bit polluted over the years, I feel like, young women especially are seeing a lot more hormonal acne, a lot more breakouts. And, again, products can only do so much.
Right.
What are the types of foods that you feel like they should avoid?
Yeah, so I think when I'm working with people, I like to focus on what can we add, because when we focus on the addition, it doesn't make us harp on the subtraction.
Smart.
So absolutely there are foods to avoid, right? Those processed foods, those high sugar foods, those fried foods, those very simple carbs. So your white rice, your white bread, your white pasta. If we can do whole wheat versions or brown rice, that would be better.
Smart.
And then of course, feeding the gut. I think that is becoming more popular and kind of a trendy topic right now, but we've known this for so long that the gut health really dictates a lot of things. So focusing on things like your probiotics, your prebiotics, making sure you're giving that good gut environment to fend off that inflammation that leads to a lot of those breakouts.
Smart. What is the best way for people to get the prebiotic, probiotics into their diet?
Yeah, so I'm always going to be food first, right? There are supplements, but food first, always.
Yes.
And so really easy way to remember the difference between the two. Pro has an O for organism. So those are your live organisms, your live cultures, things like your cultured yogurt, your kefir, your sauerkraut, your kimchi, those fermented things.
Yeah, fermented foods.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And then your pre has an E for energy. So it's essentially the energy for the bacteria in your gut.
Okay.
So your more fibrous things like your garlic, your onions, your apples,
really?
oats, almonds.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I love garlic.
Yes,
and I love cooking with garlic. So
Me too.
yeah, I'm probably getting an overabundance of prebiotics in my diet.
And that's okay. Ideally, I want to balance it both, but some people ask me, like, what is balance? It's not a cup for a cup. It just means, can we get most of those things most days out of the week is really the goal.
That's great. I know that Sundays I try to do a meal prep in my Instant Pot. And I will make, a pot of soup or a pot of chili or a pot of something.
Yeah.
And I always try to include onions, garlic, and then, some of those other really, really good whole things like beans and in them. And then that way I have, a quick bowl of soup at night when I get home, or something easy, where I'm like exhausted after a day, and you just heat it up and then you have your dinner. And I think that's been one of my secrets to success is not having to go home after a long day and start from scratch. What am I going to cook?
Yes.
What is in the refrigerator? Like having just one thing that I can have at least 3 nights really saves me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of leftovers, and some people love them, some people hate them, but I think it's just so much easier if you open the fridge and it's done.
It's so true. It makes cooking seem less work, when you have something already ready to go. My husband, he is not a big leftover person.
Yeah.
So I always have to be careful, like how much I make, or I may take some and put it in the freezer knowing that he will not eat bean soup 3 nights in a row.
Yes,
it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. What do you think the role hydration plays in skin health? We talk about this all the time, but what's your perspective?
So I can tell you, just moving to Colorado where it's very dry.
It's so dry here.
You recognize it a lot more. So you know at sea level, like, oh, I need to be hydrated, right? Like if your skin's kind of crinkly, like I'm probably dehydrated, but at altitude, you really have to be conscious about it.
So true. Do you have some sort of measurement that you use, like for each individual? Like how much water should we be drinking?
So it's different for each person based on if they're sweating, their activity level, their age. As we get older, our thirst mechanism decreases. So
Really?
we don't feel as thirsty.
Interesting.
So a couple things I like. One is the urine color scale.
Right.
Right. This cannot be understated. So making
true.
sure you're checking what color that is. You don't want it to be amber. You don't want it to be see-through. You kind of want the middle road there.
Okay.
So that's a really good marker of hydration. Some people can really feel it in their hands. So if you put your thumb and your index finger together and you pinch the skin right there, it should go right back. So if it's delayed, we're a little dehydrated.
I haven't had enough water this morning, obviously.
So that's a good cheat sheet.
That is a very good cheat sheet. I never knew that.
Yeah.
And then how do you feel about electrolytes in water? I know that some people, and I hear this all the time, they have a hard time drinking just plain water.
Yes.
So what's the secret? A little bit of electrolytes or lemon in your water?
Yeah.
Or
So
what
I'm
do
a
you
fan
think?
of any type of like hydrating fruits in there. You could do
Okay.
citrus, you could do like a watermelon, you could do a cucumber and mint. So it doesn't have to be boring. Watermelon and basil works really well in the summer.
That sounds delicious.
So good. Or strawberry and basil. Lots of good combinations there. Electrolytes, I really use these on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So I think, again, these are a really trendy thing right now.
Right.
And for people who, for example, might have high blood pressure, that might be way too much sodium for them.
Oh, right.
So it's really case-by-case. That's another source, too, where if you're not actually sweating a lot of those have quite a bit of sugar. So if we're trying to decrease that, right?
Yeah. I've noticed. I started reading some of them, and I kind of landed on the Noon brand.
Yes, I do like that.
And it's one of my favorites. And I was definitely, like when I was playing golf on Tuesdays, I would just throw one in my bottle before I played golf. And I do feel like it gave me a little more energy to get through.
And that would be a perfect example, right? When we're physically active.
Okay.
If I'm going on a hike, great. If we're just walking around the neighborhood, probably don't need that.
Okay.
So it's really, are you sweating profusely enough to be losing those electrolytes to need to replenish them?
Gotcha. Coincidentally, I had two friends this summer actually get so dehydrated, they both had seizures and had to go to the hospital.
Ooh.
So dehydration is a really, really serious issue.
Yes.
You do not want to get dehydrated to the point where
Yes.
you're having a seizure. It is terrifying.
Yeah.
So
And there's been some headlines about that this summer where they had to use search and rescue in the mountains because you're hiking at a high altitude
right.
and you're not giving yourself those electrolytes and adequate hydration. Again,
Right.
that would be an example. But if we're just sitting around most of the day,
Right.
most of us don't.
Sitting
need
at
this.
our office chair,
Yes.
at our computer, we probably don't need the electrolytes.
Yes.
Okay, that makes
Exactly.
sense. Okay, good. Beyond diet, what other lifestyle factors do you think, like stress or sleep, may impact the skin?
Oh yes, huge. Stress is massive.
Yeah.
A lot of us, especially women, I feel like we're a little bit more sensitive
Yes.
to stress when it comes to our skin.
We are. We internalize everything,
Yes.
and definitely.
Yes, exactly. So stress, making sure you're getting enough sleep, also changing your pillowcases.
You're right. We talk about that.
Maybe you don't want to change your sheets every other day, but
Right.
maybe the pillowcases more often.
Yes.
And also when you have clean bed, you sleep better. So
I definitely feel like that.
Yeah.
We have a cat that loves to sleep in bed with us, and I'm telling you, like every 2 days I have to change the sheets because I can't stand hair
Yes.
in the bed.
yes.
And that stresses me out. So you're right. When I have clean sheets, I'm less
Yeah.
stressed.
So your stress, your sleep, on the note of clean, right? More clutter. They actually have done studies on this. More clutter actually increases cortisol levels. So trying to keep your home more tidy and minimalist can actually help with those cortisol and stress levels.
It's funny that you say that because I have tried to explain to my husband why I'm like such a neat Nick around the house.
Yes.
Like I don't like the countertops cluttered. I don't
Yes.
like things just like left where they were. I like everything put away and organized. And I've always said to him, I feel like when things are clean, I'm definitely less stressed. So maybe that is a cortisol response
Yes.
for me, like when I come in and then the boots are there and the socks are there and the water glass is there. And, it's like
Everything's everywhere, right next to the laundry basket, but not in it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so there's definitely a correlation there. And then also our caffeine and alcohol intake. We really can't avoid those if we're talking about skin health and hydration.
You're right.
So really making sure that we're not going overboard on that.
I think that is my one weakness in life is coffee.
Yeah.
I love coffee.
Yep.
I drink a couple of cups in the morning for sure.
Okay.
But then in the afternoon, sometimes I will crave coffee.
Okay.
But I've switched. Do you know the mushroom coffee, Four Sigmatic?
Yep.
So I try, if I'm going to have a cup in the afternoon, I switch to the Four Sigmatic. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so really, coffee caffeine is a diuretic, so it's going to dehydrate you.
Right.
So with the mushroom coffee, it can be a better alternative to not having so much that diuretic impact. There are a lot of different brands of mushroom coffee out there, so it kind of depends on what's in it.
Gotcha.
There's a local one here too. That's great.
There is.
Brew. Yes.
BioBrew.
Yes.
I haven't heard that. Is that done in Colorado Springs? Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
I'll introduce you.
Well, I always love to buy local. I'm a local girl.
I do.
Yeah,
so,
I would love to meet them.
Yeah, so there's some great options out there. Really, we want to work on decreasing that caffeine.
Okay.
And that way we're not dehydrating our skin as much. We're not getting that jitters, which can contribute to higher stress for some people who are sensitive to that caffeine.
Leads to lack of sleep.
Yes. And if we can replace it with maybe a cup of black tea or green tea, you'll get a little bit more of that anti-inflammatory benefit as well.
That's a good option.
Yeah.
I do like tea.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like I've got some things to work on.
I think we all do.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you feel like our viewers should know about the connection between gut health and skin health? Anything, any parting words for our viewers?
Yeah, I think there's just so much there, right? We've
There's
covered
so
a lot
much.
of it between your pre and probiotics, your fiber is a big one, right?
Yeah, fiber.
Avoiding those inflammatory foods, managing that stress, managing sleep, especially for women, our hormones play a really big role too.
That's so true.
So for people who are struggling with their cycles, seeking out someone who might be able to help regulate that a little bit might also help with some of those skin issues.
That's so true. I did want to mention, in addition to like dietary, like consulting and whatever, you do have a focus in fertility.
Correct.
And helping women get pregnant naturally.
Yes.
So how is that going for you?
I love it.
Yeah.
It is just so amazing. I think my favorite thing is when someone says, hey, I need to pause because I'm pregnant. And I'm like, yes, like that's my goal. If I'm working with you for years and years, I'm not doing my job. So
I love that.
It is wonderful. It's such a rewarding, it can be challenging, right? But it is such a rewarding area to be working in, to really see people beyond these protocolized, invasive, or not necessarily invasive, but not enjoyable therapies. So really focusing on that lifestyle and also bringing in their partner. I think women bear the brunt, but really if we look at the statistics, 30% of infertility is just women. The other 30% is men, and the other 30% is a combination of male and female factors.
Wow.
So, and then 10% is unknown. If you're trying to do the math there and add up to 100.
Right.
So really taking that burden off the women and sharing that.
I love that. Well, and fertility treatments can be so expensive.
Yes.
So if you can try to conceive more naturally, you can definitely save a bundle there.
Yeah, and set your baby up for success later on, right? Because you had those habits before you got pregnant.
That's so true. Yeah, good, healthy nutrition before and postpartum. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I love that.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping all those new moms conceive.
Yeah.
That's a big win.
It definitely is.
If you guys have questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below and we will try to get back to you. And I will leave Mary Catherine's information in the description. So if you'd like to get in touch with Mary Catherine, if you have questions specifically about nutrition or her fertility classes, please definitely reach out. And otherwise, if you found this conversation helpful, we would love it if you would share it with a friend, like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back next week with more exciting visitors. Thanks so much for watching.